Hi, my friends. Tonight we're stepping back in time to don chainmail and take up a sword, not for a movie, but to live out the very real life of a medieval knight. Imagine the clang of metal in a training yard, the distant aroma of roasted meats from the Lord's Hall, and the weight of duty on your shoulders. But before you get too comfortable imagining yourself as a hero of the realm, a reality check: you probably wouldn't survive this life of grueling training. Heavy armor and political intrigue. Before you fully sink into your pillow, a quick like and subscribe would mean the world if you're into sleepy stories like this. Got a strange bit of history you want to hear before bed? Drop it in the comments. Tuck yourself in, slow your breathing, and let the past keep you company tonight. Let's begin with where every knight's journey starts: childhood. From the moment you could toddle on two legs, your future was determined. Born into a family of minor nobility, you were never destined to work the fields or hammer iron like the peasants. Instead, you were groomed for a life of service, war, and discipline. Your parents made sure you understood the gravity of your destiny. Even as a young child, you practiced the bow and arrow with other boys. By the time you could hold a small wooden sword, you were sparring, though perhaps more for the amusement of adults than any real skill building. Your first lesson: obedience. And your second: humility before authority. At 7 years old, your life shifted entirely as you were sent away to another noble's household. This was no sleepover, it was the beginning of your education as a page. You had to leave your family behind, adapting to the rules of a new castle. Though homesick, you weren't alone. Other young boys surrounded you, each vying for approval from the household lord. Your morning started early sunrise, to be exact. You fetched water-polished armor and learned courtly manners. Pages were not pampered. They ran errands, assisted in the kitchen, and even cleaned up after hunting dogs. Occasionally, the older knights allowed you to sit nearby while they recounted tales of glory and battles past. You hung on their every word, imagining the day you'd carry your own banner into the fray. Life as a page wasn't all drudgery. After chores, the real training began. You learned to ride a horse with the utmost precision, often falling off more times than you'd care to admit. You practiced swordplay with blunt weapons that left your arms bruised. Wrestling matches were common, and though you hated losing, they taught you strength and strategy. Even the games you played, like mock duels, prepared you for the life ahead. But there was more to knighthood than combat. Your tutors drilled you on history heraldry and the complexities of the feudal system. You had to memorize the family crests of neighboring lords and their tangled alliances. Mistaking the wrong crest on a battlefield could be deadly, or at the very least, mortally embarrassing. You even studied poetry and music because a true knight was expected to entertain as well as fight. By the time you reached adolescence, you were no longer just a page. The next step was becoming a squire. At around 14, your responsibilities expanded, and so did the expectations placed on you. While still under the watchful eye of a knight, you trained harder, fought more intensely, and began to understand the brutal realities of warfare. You learned to care for your knight's armor and weaponry, ensuring everything was ready at a moment's notice. This was also the age when you first experienced battle, though not as a full participant. As a squire, you accompanied your knight into skirmishes, witnessing firsthand the chaos of war. You weren't just an observer, you served as a second pair of hands, fetching weapons, delivering messages, and aiding the wounded. The sights, sounds, and smells of battle blood, sweat, and burning wood were seared into your memory. It was a far cry from the romanticized stories of valor you had grown up hearing. Historians still argue whether squires ever truly felt ready to become knights. For you, there was no guarantee. A single misstep, a failure to impress your mentor, or a political shift could strip you of the chance to be knighted. But if you persevered, your day would come. When you close your eyes, you imagine the culmination of years of sacrifice and training the knighting ceremony. You see yourself kneeling before your lord, hands clasped in supplication. The weight of a sword rests briefly on each shoulder as sacred words are spoken. You're reminded of your vows, loyalty, honor, and service to the realm. Around you, banners flutter, and the air buzzes with anticipation. For a fleeting moment, you feel invincible. Of course, as you'll soon discover, being a knight is less about glory and more about hard work. Long days and the constant weight of responsibility. Kneeling there in the great hall, the weight of the sword on your shoulders feels heavier than it should. The ceremonial blade isn't sharp. It's symbolic, but the enormity of the moment presses down on you. After years of tireless training, bruises, and countless failures, you finally made it. You're a knight. The crowd cheers, your family beams with pride, and the lord who oversaw your training gives you a nod of approval. But as you rise, you realize something: the ceremony was the easy part. Now, the real work begins. The first thing you notice about your new life is the armor. Forget the shiny, pristine suits from modern movies. Your armor is heavy, cumbersome, and downright uncomfortable. It's not tailored perfectly. This isn't haute couture, but it fits well enough to protect you. Each morning, you struggle into your chainmail, which alone weighs about 50 pounds. Over that, you secure your breastplate, greaves, and gauntlets. By the time you're fully dressed, you're sweating like a blacksmith's apprentice. The process takes so long that you almost envy the peasants and squires who assist you. Almost. That is, until you step out into the courtyard, and the respect of those around you reminds you of your elevated status. You're no longer fetching water or cleaning stables. You're leading, commanding, and training others. And oh, the training. Even as a knight, you can't slack off. Combat practice is relentless. You spar with other knights, honing your swordsmanship, shield defense, and jousting skills. The clanging of metal against metal echoes across the training yard as you parry and strike over and over until your arms feel like they'll fall off. When you're not training, you're on patrol. Your lord's lands don't guard themselves after all. Mounted on your warhorse, a powerful, intimidating beast, bred for battle, you survey the villages and roads. It's your job to ensure the peasants are safe from bandits, neighboring lords with itchy trigger fingers, and any other threat to the realm. Life isn't all steel and sweat, though. As a knight, you're also expected to be a gentleman. Courtly behavior is as important as combat prowess. You attend feasts and banquets representing your lord and displaying your refined manners. These gatherings are more than just social events. They're opportunities to forge alliances, exchange information, and subtly outmaneuver rivals. The food at these feasts is a far cry from the gruel and bread the peasants eat. Spit-roasted meats, rich stews, and sweetmeats grace the long tables. But don't overindulge. A knight is expected to maintain discipline even when faced with a tempting platter of honey-glazed pheasant. And then there's the chivalry. Ah, chivalry. It's a concept that sounds noble in theory, but in practice, it's a mixed bag. On one hand, you're expected to protect the weak, defend the innocent, and uphold justice. On the other hand, the political realities of the medieval world often force you into morally murky situations. For instance, you might be sent to collect taxes from a struggling village. The peasants plead with you, their faces lined with desperation, but you have your orders. You're a servant of your lord, bound by duty. Refusing to carry out these tasks could cost you your position or worse. Historians still argue whether knights genuinely believed in the ideals of chivalry or simply paid lip service to them. For you, it's a constant balancing act. Some days you feel like a hero. Other days you feel like a glorified enforcer. Then there are the tournaments. These are the moments when you can truly shine or utterly humiliate yourself. Jousting is the main event, and it's every bit as dangerous as it looks. You charge down the list on your warhorse lance aimed at your opponent's chest. The impact when you hit or are hit is bone-jarring. If you're lucky, you'll unhorse your opponent and bask in the cheers of the crowd. If you're unlucky, you'll find yourself face down in the dirt, nursing a bruised ego. Tournaments aren't just about personal glory. They're also a chance to win prizes, secure patronage, and showcase your skills to potential allies or enemies. But for all the excitement, there's a constant undercurrent of danger in your life. Knights are warriors, and wars are an inevitable part of your existence. When your lord calls you to arms, you don't have the luxury of hesitation. Your first battle is a chaotic blur. The roar of war cries the clash of swords, and the thundering hooves of cavalry surround you. You don't have time to think, only react. Your training takes over as you block a blow here, strike there, and try to stay alive. The battlefield is a brutal, unforgiving place, and survival often comes down to luck as much as skill. After the battle, you see the aftermath: broken bodies, shattered weapons, and smoldering ruins. It's a sobering reminder that war is far from the romanticized tales you grew up hearing. And yet, despite the hardships, there's a sense of purpose in your life. You're part of a system that, for better or worse, defines the medieval world. Your role as a knight is crucial not just in war, but in maintaining the social order. As the sun sets on another grueling day, you strip off your armor, piece by piece, feeling the weight lift from your shoulders. You sit by the fire in the great hall, listening to a minstrel sing of heroic deeds. The song stirs something in you, a reminder of why you chose this path. Because despite the sweat, the blood, and the compromises, you are a knight. And that, for now, is enough. The first rays of dawn creep through the narrow windows of the castle, and you awaken to the distant clatter of servants in the courtyard below. Your day as a knight begins early, long before the sun has fully warmed the dew-soaked grass. There's no lounging in bed, not for someone of your station. You pull on a simple linen tunic, tie on your leather boots, and head to the chapel. Morning prayers are a routine part of your life. Now, a time to seek divine guidance before the challenges of the day. Kneeling on the cold stone floor, you join your fellow knights and retainers in quiet reverence, the soft murmur of Latin filling the air. Faith is a cornerstone of your existence, woven into every decision, every battle, and every oath you take. Whether you truly feel it in your heart or not, displaying piety is non-negotiable. After prayers, you make your way to the stables where your warhorse waits. This isn't just any horse, it's a destrier bred specifically for knights like you. Towering and muscular, it's not a creature for casual riding. These horses are trained to charge fearlessly into the chaos of battle, kicking and biting at enemies if necessary. Grooming and caring for your destrier is part of your duty, not left entirely to the stable hands. The bond between knight and steed is crucial. In the thick of combat, your lives depend on each other. As you feed your destrier a handful of oats, you can't help but marvel at the sheer cost of maintaining it. Owning a warhorse is no small expense, and many lesser knights struggle to afford one. Some even share horses or make do with cheaper, less specialized breeds. The destrier is a status symbol as much as a tool of war, a reminder of your place in the social hierarchy. The training grounds are already buzzing with activity when you arrive. Today, it's archery practice. You may be a knight trained primarily for close combat, but versatility is key. Standing in a line with other knights, you nock an arrow and draw your bowstring. The tension in the wood vibrates against your fingertips as you aim at the distant target. A deep breath, a release, and the arrow sails through the air, hitting just shy of the bullseye. Not bad, but there's room for improvement. Nearby squires are engaged in their own drills. Watching them, you're reminded of your own years as a squire hauling armors, cleaning weapons, and enduring endless lectures on chivalry. The memory of scrubbing dried mud from your knight's boots still makes you grimace. But those years shaped you, teaching you the discipline and resilience needed to survive in this world. Now it's your turn to pass on that knowledge. Later in the day, you're summoned to the Great Hall for a council meeting. Your lord sits at the head of the long wooden table surrounded by his advisors. The topic of discussion: a border dispute with the neighboring lord. Land is the lifeblood of the medieval economy, and conflicts over boundaries are common. You listen as your lord outlines the issue. A small village on the edge of the territory is in question, and tensions are escalating. Your role here isn't to debate policy, it's to prepare for the possibility of military action. The thought of another campaign fills you with a mix of anticipation and dread. While battle offers a chance for glory, it also brings the risk of injury or worse. As the meeting concludes, you're tasked with leading a small patrol to the disputed area. The ride out is uneventful at first. The countryside is peaceful, dotted with fields of wheat and the occasional herd of sheep. But as you approach the village, signs of unrest become evident. The villagers greet you with wary eyes, their bodies stiff with tension. They've heard the rumors of conflict and fear for their homes and families. You spend the afternoon gathering information, speaking with villagers, and assessing the situation. The problem is clear: both lords claim the land and the villagers are caught in the middle. Resolving this dispute peacefully seems unlikely, but you'll report back to your lord with as much detail as possible. As the sun sets, you and your patrol make camp in a nearby grove. The evening is quiet save for the crackling of the fire and the occasional rustle of leaves. You take a moment to reflect on your responsibilities. Being a knight isn't just about swinging a sword, it's about navigating the complex web of loyalty, duty, and morality that defines your world. Historians still debate whether knights like you were more warriors or politicians. Certainly you're expected to excel at both. On the battlefield, you fight for your lord and your honor. Off the battlefield, you're a diplomat, a peacekeeper, and sometimes a mediator. Balancing these roles is no easy feat. The next morning you return to the castle dusty and tired, but satisfied with the patrol's success. Your report to the lord is thorough, and he seems pleased. For now, the situation remains stable, though you suspect it won't stay that way for long. Before you can even catch your breath, you're called to oversee the squires' training. Watching them struggle through the same drills you once endured brings a wry smile to your face. You offer tips and corrections, occasionally demonstrating a technique yourself. It's a chance to show off a bit, but more importantly, it's an opportunity to instill the next generation of knights with the skills they'll need to survive. By the time evening rolls around, you're exhausted. You strip off your gear and collapse onto a bench in the Great Hall. A minstrel begins to play the gentle melody filling the room. The firelight dances on the stone walls, casting long shadows that seem to whisper of ancient tales. As you sip a goblet of watered wine, you allow yourself a rare moment of relaxation. Life as a knight is demanding, but it's also deeply rewarding. You've earned your place in this world through sheer determination, and despite the challenges, you wouldn't trade it for anything. The morning sun rises sluggishly, as though reluctant to shed its light on the grim business that lies ahead. You've barely finished breaking your fast, a hunk of bread, a sliver of cheese, and a mug of ale when the call to arms echoes through the courtyard. Word has arrived the border dispute has escalated. Your lord is assembling his knights, and that means you'll be riding into the fray. You hurry to the armory where your squire is already preparing your gear. The heavy suit of chainmail glimmers faintly in the dim light, its countless interlinked rings a marvel of medieval engineering. Though sturdy, it's not impervious. You've heard tales of arrows punching through weak spots and axes that cleave cleanly through the mail. As your squire helps you don the hauberk, its weight settles on your shoulders like a familiar but unwelcome friend. Over the chainmail, you strap on a surcoat emblazoned with your lord's colors. It's not just a uniform, it's a declaration of loyalty, a symbol that ties you to your liege and his cause. Your helm, fitted snugly over a padded coif, restricts your vision, but it offers invaluable protection. The thought crosses your mind: how many knights have donned this same armor, only to meet their end on the battlefield? You push the thought aside. There's no room for hesitation now. Your destrier snorts and stamps its hooves as you approach. The beast seems to sense the tension in the air. Mounting up, you feel the familiar surge of adrenaline as the reins settle in your hands. The clamor of preparation fills the courtyard squires, shouting horses, whinnying, and the clink of steel against steel. When the gates swing open, the sound of hoofbeats echoes like a drumbeat of war. The ride to the disputed village is tense. Your company moves in disciplined formation, a sea of banners fluttering in the wind. Along the way, you pass peasants working in the fields, their faces pale and drawn. They pause to watch you pass, their eyes filled with a mix of hope and fear. To them, knights are both protectors and harbingers of destruction. You can almost hear their silent prayers that the conflict ends swiftly, that their homes remain standing, that their lives are spared. When you arrive at the village, it's clear that diplomacy is no longer an option. The opposing lord's forces are already there, their own knights clad in rival colors. The tension crackles like a storm about to break. For a moment, both sides hesitate, as though hoping the other will back down. But then the signal is given, a trumpet blast that slices through the air and the battlefield erupts into chaos. Charging into battle on horseback is nothing like the romanticized tales sung by minstrels. The reality is a whirlwind of noise, motion, and sheer terror. Your destrier surges forward, muscles rippling beneath you as it carries you straight into the fray. You lower your lance, aiming for an enemy knight. The impact is jarring, the shock of the blow reverberating through your arm as the lance shatters upon contact. The enemy is unhorsed, tumbling to the ground in a clatter of steel. You draw your sword next, its blade gleaming in the sunlight. Around you, the battle rages, a cacophony of clashing metal, shouting voices, and the screams of the wounded. You swing your blade with precision, aiming for the gaps in your opponent's armor. It's a brutal, exhausting dance, every movement calculated to strike without leaving yourself vulnerable. Amid the chaos, you catch glimpses of the villagers huddled in their homes, their faces pressed to the windows. This is their village, their lives being torn apart by a feud that has little to do with them. The thought gnaws at you, but there's no time to dwell on it. An enemy knight charges at you, and you barely manage to parry his blow. The force of it nearly unseats you, but you hold firm, retaliating with a slash that sends him reeling. Historians still argue whether knights were truly the chivalrous warriors depicted in legend, or simply brutal enforcers of their lord's will. In moments like this, it's hard to feel noble. The battlefield is no place for honor. It's a fight for survival, plain and simple. Hours pass, though it feels like mere minutes. The sun is high overhead when the tide finally turns in your favor. The opposing forces retreat, leaving the village smoldering but intact. The cost of victory is evident all around you. Fallen knights and foot soldiers lie scattered like discarded dolls, their blood soaking into the earth. Your own body aches from the strain bruises blossoming beneath your armor. But you're alive, and for now that's enough. Returning to the castle is a somber affair. The triumph of victory is tempered by the losses suffered both among your ranks and the villagers. As you dismount in the courtyard, your squire rushes to help you remove your armor. The weight lifted from your shoulders feels almost surreal, as though you've shed not just metal, but the burden of the day's violence. In the great hall that evening, a feast is held to celebrate the victory. The long tables are laden with roasted meats, fresh bread, and pitchers of ale. Minstrels play lively tunes, and the mood is one of cautious relief. You eat heartily, though the faces of the fallen linger in your mind. Among the revelry, you catch snippets of conversation about the battle stories of bravery, of narrow escapes of comrades lost. As the night wears on, you find yourself drawn to the chapel. Kneeling once more on the cold stone floor, you offer a prayer for those who perish today, friend and foe alike. You ask for forgiveness, though you're not sure for what. Killing in battle is your duty, sanctioned by your Lord and your faith. Yet the weight of it lingers, a shadow that refuses to be banished. When you finally retire to your chambers, sleep does not come easily. Your body is exhausted, but your mind churns with the memories of the day. The clang of swords, the cries of the wounded, the fear in the villagers' eyes, all of it replays in an endless loop. You wonder if this is what it means to be a knight, if the glory is worth the cost. Eventually, you drift off your dreams, a chaotic mix of battle and peace, of fire and light. Somewhere in the distance, a rooster crows, heralding the dawn of another day. And so the cycle begins anew. Morning comes too soon, with its pale light streaming through the narrow windows of your chamber. The aches from yesterday's battle are more pronounced now, a dull throb in your shoulders, a sharp twinge in your knees. You groan as you sit up, the weight of the world pressing down on you like an invisible suit of armor. But knights don't have the luxury of sleeping in. Duty calls, and your lord expects nothing less than unwavering devotion. Today the court is bustling with activity. The victory in the village has stirred a whirlwind of politics. Nobles from neighboring territories have arrived to congratulate your lord, or to subtly probe for weaknesses. You're summoned to the great hall, where the air buzzes with whispered negotiations and the clink of goblets. Your presence as a knight is part symbolic, part strategic, a reminder of the military strength that backs your lord's claims. As you stand at attention near the high table, you observe the tapestry of medieval life unfolding before you. The lords and ladies, dressed in fine silks and brocades, seem worlds apart from the bloodied battlefield of yesterday. Their laughter rings hollow to your ears, a stark contrast to the cries of the wounded still fresh in your memory. You can't help but wonder if they truly grasp the cost of the power they so casually wield. The centerpiece of the day's discussions is a potential alliance with a neighboring lord. It's a marriage proposal, as these things often are, a daughter for a parcel of land, a son for a fleet of ships. You know little of the details, but you catch snippets of conversation as courtiers murmur around you. The bride-to-be is said to be beautiful, but also strong-willed, a quality that could either solidify or complicate the alliance. Historians still debate whether such unions were acts of love or mere transactions. From where you stand, it seems clear they were the latter. Your thoughts drift as the negotiations stretch on, but you're jolted back to reality when your name is called. The Lord is asking for your perspective on the strength of the neighboring territory's defenses. You clear your throat, recounting what you know. Fortified walls, a well-trained militia, but nothing that a determined force of knights couldn't overcome. Your lord nods, pleased with your assessment. Your words may tip the scales in these deliberations, a small but significant contribution to the intricate chess game of medieval politics. The afternoon brings a different kind of duty. You're tasked with inspecting the castle's defenses, a routine part of a knight's responsibilities. Accompanied by a handful of squires and guards, you make your way to the outer walls. The stone battlements are weathered, but sturdy, a testament to the masons who built them decades ago. You walk the perimeter, checking for weak spots, loose stones, or signs of wear that could compromise the stronghold. From your vantage point, you can see the surrounding countryside stretching out in all directions. It's a patchwork of fields and forests, dotted with the occasional village or manor. The site is almost peaceful, though you know it's a fragile peace. One bad harvest, one ambitious rival, and this tranquility could shatter like glass. As you descend to the castle courtyard, you notice a group of peasants gathered near the gates. They've brought grievances to be heard: a lost cow, a boundary dispute, a claim of stolen grain. It's your lord's responsibility to resolve such matters, but as his knight, you're sometimes called upon to mediate. Today is no exception. You approach the group, your presence silencing their heated arguments. Listening carefully, you weigh the evidence presented by both sides. It's a delicate balancing act: too lenient, and you risk undermining authority; too harsh, and you sow resentment among the people. Eventually, you render your judgment, hoping it will be accepted as fair. The peasants bow reluctantly, their muttering fading as they disperse. You can't help but feel like a parent settling a squabble between unruly children. The evening brings a brief respite, a chance to train. You head to the practice yard where wooden dummies and straw targets await. Training is both a discipline and a ritual, a way to hone your skills and clear your mind. You practice with sword and shield, your strikes precise and deliberate. Your squire joins you, eager to learn, and you take a moment to show him the finer points of a parry. His youthful enthusiasm reminds you of your own early days as a knight, when the world seemed full of endless possibilities. As the sun sets, casting the castle in hues of gold and crimson, you find yourself reflecting on the dual nature of your life. By day, you're a warrior sworn to protect and serve. By night, you're a human being grappling with the complexities of duty, loyalty, and morality. It's a delicate balance, one that requires constant vigilance. Later, as you retire to your chambers, the weight of the day settles over you like a cloak. You light a single candle, its flickering flame casting long shadows on the stone walls. Kneeling beside your bed, you offer a prayer not just for yourself, but for the people you serve, the comrades you've lost, and the uncertain future that lies ahead. You fall asleep to the distant sound of the castle's bells, their deep, resonant chimes, a reminder of the passage of time. Somewhere in the darkness, the wheels of history continue to turn, indifferent to the lives they shape. Morning in the castle brings a flurry of activity. The clatter of hooves echoes through the courtyard as messengers arrive bearing scrolls sealed with wax. The kitchen staff are already hard at work, their voices carrying over the crisp morning air as they prepare an elaborate breakfast for the nobility. The scent of fresh bread mingles with the smoky aroma of roasting meats, a stark contrast to the simple porridge and salted fish you'll likely have for your first meal. Today, however, holds a peculiar excitement. A tournament has been announced, and knights from neighboring territories are arriving to participate. These events are as much about politics as they are about sport, offering lords a chance to showcase their champions and knights an opportunity to demonstrate their prowess. You've been instructed to compete, a chance to bring honor to your lord's name, and perhaps win a purse of coin if fortune favors you. Preparing for a tournament is no small task. Your armor is carefully polished to a mirror sheen, every dent and scratch painstakingly buffed out by your squire. The lance, your primary weapon for the joust, is inspected and sanded smooth to ensure it's straight and true. There's an odd thrill in this ritual, the same excitement you felt as a boy watching tournaments from the sidelines. The tournament grounds are a spectacle of color and sound. Brightly painted banners snap in the breeze bearing the crests of noble houses. The crowd, a mix of peasants, merchants, and minor nobles, buzzes with anticipation, their voices rising. like the hum of bees in a hive. Vendors hawk meat pies and tankards of ale while musicians play lively tunes to entertain the growing audience. Your name is called and you step forward mounting your warhorse with practiced ease. The beast beneath you is powerful, its muscles rippling as it snorts and stamps the ground. You grip the reins tightly, feeling the weight of your lance in your other hand. Across the tilt yard, your opponent is doing the same, a knight in gleaming armor, his face hidden behind a visor. There's no malice between you. This is a contest, not a battle. Still, the air is thick with tension as you prepare to charge. The trumpets blare, and the world narrows to a single point of focus. You dig your heels into your horse's flanks, urging it forward. The ground thunders beneath you as both riders charge their lances, aimed true. Time seems to slow in those final moments before impact the roar of the crowd, fading into a distant murmur. Your lance strikes with a resounding crack, and for an instant you're not sure who's hit who. When the dust settles, you realize you've unhorsed your opponent. The crowd erupts in cheers, their applause ringing in your ears as you dismount to check on your rival. He's shaken but uninjured, a testament to the skill of the tournament organizers who designed the lances to shatter on impact. You help him to his feet, exchanging a nod of mutual respect before returning to your lord's box to await the next round. The day unfolds in a series of events jousting melee combat archery contests. You fare well, your years of training and experience serving you in good stead. By the end of the tournament, you've secured a respectable second place, a result that brings pride to your lord and earns you a small purse of gold. The victor, a knight from a distant realm, is hailed as a hero, his name chanted by the crowd. You watch him with a mixture of admiration and envy, vowing to train even harder for the next tournament. As the sun dips below the horizon, the festivities shift to the castle's great hall. A feast is laid out, the tables groaning under the weight of roasted boar-spiced wine and an array of pastries. The mood is jubilant, the room filled with laughter and music as nobles and knights celebrate the day's events. You're seated among your peers, sharing stories of close calls and hard-won victories. It's a rare moment of camaraderie, a reminder that even in a life of duty and sacrifice, there are moments of joy to be savored. Your squire, ever attentive, ensures your goblet is never empty and your plate always full. He's eager to hear about your matches, his eyes wide with admiration as you recount the details. You take a moment to offer him some advice, knowing he'll one day walk the same path you're on now. It's a humbling thought, realizing the legacy you're a part of a chain of knights, stretching back through the centuries, each one passing their knowledge and values to the next. As the evening wears on, the atmosphere grows rowdier. Drunken laughter fills the air and a group of knights breaks into song, their off-key voices adding to the merriment. You allow yourself to relax, the weight of the day's responsibilities lifting, if only for a little while. It's a fleeting reprieve, but one you cherish nonetheless. Later, as you make your way back to your chambers, the castle is quiet once more. The echoes of the feast fade into silence, replaced by the soft rustle of the wind through the battlements. You pause for a moment, looking up at the stars scattered across the inky sky. It's a reminder of how small you are in the grand scheme of things, a fleeting speck in the vast tapestry of history. You sleep deeply that night, your dreams filled with visions of gallant knights and noble deeds. Somewhere in the darkness, the future awaits its challenges and triumphs still unknown. But for now, you rest content in the knowledge that you've upheld your honor and fulfilled your duty. The morning after the tournament brings a much quieter pace, though your body reminds you of the previous day's exertions. Every muscle aches and bruises you hadn't noticed in the heat of battle make themselves known with every step. Yet there's a certain satisfaction in the soreness, a reminder that you've earned your place at the table both literally and figuratively. Today, your duties return to the routine of castle life. The lord of the manor expects his knights not only to fight, but also to manage the lands and protect the people. You're assigned to inspect the surrounding villages, ensuring that taxes are being collected, and the villagers are safe from bandits or wild animals. It's less glamorous than tournaments or battles, but no less important. Without the support of the peasantry, the castle would crumble under the weight of its own demands. The journey to the nearest village takes you through dense woodland, the sunlight filtering through the canopy in dappled patterns. The path is uneven, worn down by years of foot traffic and wagon wheels, and your horse picks its way carefully over the terrain. You keep a wary eye on your surroundings, mindful of the stories you've heard of bandit ambushes in these parts. The forest is quiet, save for the occasional chirp of birds or the rustle of leaves in the breeze. When you arrive at the village, it's as if you've stepped into another world. The air is thick with the smell of livestock and freshly turned earth. Children play in the dirt streets, their laughter ringing out as they chase each other with sticks. Villagers pause in their work to watch your approach, their expressions a mix of curiosity and apprehension. To them, you're both a figure of authority and a potential source of trouble. A knight can bring protection, but also demands for resources or labor. Your first stop is the home of the Reeve, the village's appointed leader. He greets you with a bow, his voice respectful but tinged with unease. You reassure him that your visit is routine, though his nervousness doesn't entirely fade. Over a cup of thin ale, he gives you a report on the village's affairs. The harvest is expected to be modest this year. A minor illness has spread among the sheep, and a wolf has been spotted near the edge of the woods. It's a sobering reminder of how precarious life is for these people, their fortunes tied so closely to the whims of nature. You make your rounds speaking with villagers and inspecting the fields. They're wary at first, but your presence seems to offer some reassurance. A woman shows you the damage done to her henhouse by the wolf, and you promise to send someone to deal with the animal. A farmer complains about the weight of the Lord's taxes, and though you sympathize, you know there's little you can do to ease his burden. It's a delicate balance, ensuring the Lord's coffers are filled without pushing the peasants to the brink of starvation. As you prepare to leave, a commotion breaks out near the village square. Two men are arguing loudly, their voices rising over the hum of daily life. One accuses the other of stealing a sack of grain, a claim the other vehemently denies. You dismount and step between them, your presence enough to quell their shouting. With a calm but firm tone, you question both men, piecing together the story. It's a simple misunderstanding born of desperation and miscommunication, and you manage to broker a truce between them. It's a small victory, but one that leaves you with a sense of accomplishment. The ride back to the castle is uneventful, giving you time to reflect on the day. The villagers' lives are hard, their struggles constant and unrelenting. Yet there's a resilience to them, a determination to survive no matter the odds. You admire their strength even as you recognize the privilege of your own position. Being a knight comes with its own challenges, but you're shielded from the daily grind of subsistence living. It's a humbling thought, one that stays with you long after you've returned to the castle. Back within the fortress walls, you report to your lord, summarizing the village's condition and the concerns you encountered. He listens attentively, nodding as you speak, though his mind seems elsewhere. You suspect he's preoccupied with matters of his own, perhaps a dispute with a neighboring lord or plans for the next campaign season. Still, he thanks you for your diligence, and you leave his chamber feeling a renewed sense of purpose. The evening is quiet, a welcome change from the noise and excitement of the previous day. You spend some time in the castle's chapel, offering prayers for the villagers and seeking guidance for the challenges ahead. The flickering candlelight casts long shadows on the stone walls, creating an atmosphere of solemnity and reflection. The chapel is a place of peace, a sanctuary from the chaos of the outside world, and you find comfort in its stillness. Later, as you prepare for bed, you think about the wolf that's been troubling the village. It's a problem that will need addressing soon, and you make a mental note to organize a hunting party. For now, though, you allow yourself to rest, sinking into the straw mattress with a sigh. The castle is quiet, save for the distant murmur of voices and the occasional creak of wood. You close your eyes, letting the day's events drift away like leaves on a stream. In your dreams, you're back in the village, walking among the fields and speaking with the villagers. Their faces blur and shift, becoming those of knights and squires, lords and ladies. It's a reminder of the interconnectedness of your world, the way each life is woven into the fabric of the greater whole. You awake with the first light of dawn, ready to face whatever the day brings. The sun rises over the castle, casting golden light on the stone walls and waking the fortress from its slumber. Today, you're tasked with organizing a hunting party to deal with the wolf that's been troubling the nearby village. It's an opportunity not just to address a pressing issue, but also to demonstrate your leadership skills, though. In truth, you're more excited about the hunt itself. Few things compare to the thrill of tracking and outwitting a wild animal. You gather your companions, a mix of knights, squires, and experienced huntsmen. The castle's kennel master readies the hounds, their eager barks echoing in the courtyard. Each dog is trained for this purpose, their keen noses and boundless energy indispensable in the pursuit of game. The horses are saddled and the party sets out a line of determined figures, cutting through the morning mist. The forest feels alive with the rustle of leaves and the songs of birds. You can't help but marvel at its beauty, even as you remain vigilant for signs of your quarry. The wolf is cunning and elusive, and its ability to evade capture has only added to the villagers' anxiety. This hunt is as much about restoring their peace of mind as it is about eliminating a threat. As you ride, one of the huntsmen dismounts to examine the ground. He points to a set of paw prints, faint but distinct, leading deeper into the woods. The hounds catch the scent and bay, excitedly straining against their leashes. The party moves forward cautiously, the atmosphere tense with anticipation. Every snap of a twig, every shadow among the trees feels like it could be the wolf, and your pulse quickens. The trail leads to a clearing where the underbrush is trampled evidence of the wolf's recent presence. The huntsman gestures for silence, and the group halts, listening intently. The air is thick with expectation, and then suddenly you hear a low, guttural growl that sends a shiver down your spine. The wolf is close. The hounds are released, their barking filling the air as they charge into the thicket. You follow on horseback, weaving through the trees and trying to keep the dogs in sight. The wolf is a blur of gray fur as it darts between the trunks, its movements quick and calculated. It's a game of strategy and endurance, each side testing the other's limits. At last the wolf is cornered in a rocky ravine, the hounds forming a tight circle around it. The animal snarls, its teeth bared in a defiant display. It's larger than you expected, its eyes gleaming with a mix of fear and aggression. This is no mindless beast. It's a creature fighting for its survival, and you feel a pang of respect for its tenacity. You dismount and approach cautiously, your spear at the ready. The other knights flank you, their weapons drawn, while the huntsmen keep the hounds at bay. It's a delicate moment, one that requires precision and courage. The wolf lunges, and time seems to slow as you thrust your spear forward, striking true. The animal collapses with a final guttural growl, and the forest falls silent. There's a moment of stillness as everyone processes what's just happened. The hounds bark excitedly, their tails wagging as if celebrating the victory. The knights cheer, their voices echoing through the trees, and you feel a surge of pride. The villagers will no longer have to live in fear, and you've proven yourself capable of leading in the face of danger. The ride back to the village is triumphant, the wolf's body draped across one of the horses. Word of your success spreads quickly, and the villagers gather to greet you with cheers and gratitude. The woman whose henhouse was attacked approaches with tears in her eyes, thanking you profusely. It's a humbling moment, a reminder of the responsibility that comes with your position. That evening, the castle celebrates your successful hunt with a feast. The great hall is filled with the sounds of laughter and music, the long tables laden with roasted meats, fresh bread, and jugs of ale. The wolf's pelt has already been cleaned and stretched, a trophy of your accomplishment. It will be displayed in the hall as a symbol of protection and strength. As the night wears on, you find yourself deep in conversation with your fellow knights. They recount their own hunting stories, each one more exaggerated than the last, and you can't help but laugh at their antics. There's a camaraderie here, a sense of belonging that makes the hardships of knighthood worthwhile. These are the moments you'll remember long after the battles and tournaments have faded into memory. When the feast finally winds down, you retire to your chamber, still buzzing with the day's events. The wolf's snarling face lingers in your mind, a reminder of the thin line between predator and prey. You think about the villagers, their relief and gratitude, and feel a sense of fulfillment that goes beyond personal glory. This is what it means to be a knight, not just to fight, but to protect and serve. As you lie in bed, the sounds of the forest echo faintly in your ears. The rustle of leaves, the distant howl of a wolf, the soft chirping of crickets. You close your eyes and let the memories of the day carry you into a deep, dreamless sleep, your body and mind at peace. The days after the wolf hunt are marked by a sense of accomplishment, but there's little time to rest. The life of a knight is rarely quiet, and soon you're called to address another matter, the upkeep of your arms and armor. It's not the most glamorous aspect of knighthood, but without well-maintained equipment, even the finest knight is just a vulnerable man in a tunic. You start with your armor, a suit of chainmail that gleams faintly in the light of your chamber. Each link is a tiny piece of craftsmanship, painstakingly forged and riveted together. Over time, the links can rust, break, or lose their flexibility, so regular maintenance is essential. You sit at your workbench with a small file and some oil, carefully inspecting every inch of the mail. It's tedious work, but there's something meditative about it. The rhythmic scraping of the file, the smooth glide of the oiled cloth over metal. As you work, you think about the craftsmen who made this armor. Smiths who toiled over hot forges, shaping raw iron into something that could save your life. Historians still argue whether a knight's armor was as heavy and cumbersome as popular depictions suggest. The truth is that a well-made suit, while certainly not light, is designed for mobility and balance. You've trained in it for years, and it feels like a second skin, albeit one that requires constant care. Next, you turn to your sword, a weapon as much a symbol of your status as a tool of war. The blade must be kept razor sharp, its edge honed to cut cleanly through flesh or fabric. You take a whetstone and begin the slow, deliberate process of sharpening the sound of metal on stone filling the room. It's a ritual you've performed countless times, and yet it never loses its significance. This blade has seen battles, tournaments, and training bouts. It has become an extension of yourself, a trusted companion in moments of peril. As you sharpen the sword, your mind drifts to the stories behind such weapons. Some knights name their blades, imbuing them with a personality and a legacy. There's Durandal, the legendary sword of Roland, said to have been unbreakable. Or Excalibur, King Arthur's mystical blade pulled from a stone. You haven't named your sword, it feels presumptuous somehow, but you can't deny the sense of reverence you feel when holding it. Once your weapons and armor are ready, you move on to your horse. A knight's steed is more than just transportation. It's a partner in battle, a creature you rely on as much as any squire or comrade. Your horse, a sturdy destrier named Bramble, greets you with a soft whicker as you enter the stable. You brush its coat until it shines, checking its hooves for stones and ensuring the saddle and bridle are in perfect condition. The bond between a knight and their horse is one of mutual trust and respect built over countless rides and shared challenges. As you work, the stable master joins you offering tips and stories about legendary war horses. One tale stands out, a horse so loyal it returned to its master's side even after being wounded in battle. The stable master laughs, noting how some knights are said to treat their horses better than their squires. You smile, knowing there's truth to that. Bramble has carried you through skirmishes, hunts, and parades. It's only fair to repay that loyalty with care. With your preparations complete, you head to the practice yard to test your equipment. The yard is alive with the sounds of combat blades clashing, arrows thudding into targets, and the shouted instructions of trainers. You join a sparring session with another knight, the two of you circling each other like predators. The fight is intense, but controlled each strike and parry a testament to years of training. Sweat beads on your brow and your muscles ache with the effort, but there's a satisfaction in the exertion. This is what you've trained for, what you've dedicated your life to. After the sparring match, you take a moment to observe the squires practicing under the watchful eyes of their mentors. One boy struggles to lift a heavy sword, his arms trembling with the effort. Another manages to disarm his opponent, his face lighting up with pride. You can't help but see a bit of yourself in them, the eager determination, the clumsy mistakes, the unshakable belief that one day you'll stand among the greats. The afternoon fades into evening and you retire to the castle's great hall for supper. The meal is simple but hearty stew bread and a mug of ale. As you eat, you listen to the conversations around you. Some knights discuss the latest political news, while others boast about their exploits. One knight tells a particularly outlandish tale of defeating 5 bandits, single-handedly prompting a round of laughter and good-natured ribbing. The camaraderie is one of the best parts of knighthood, a reminder that even in a life filled with challenges, there's always room for friendship and humor. You swap stories with the others, sharing memories of tournaments, hunts, and the occasional embarrassing mishap. It's a moment of connection, a chance to unwind before the next day's demands. As the evening winds down, you reflect on the day. It wasn't a grand adventure or a fierce battle, but it was a reminder of the quiet, steady work that forms the foundation of knighthood. The care of your equipment, the bond with your horse, the practice that hones your skills, all of it prepares you for the moments when everything is on the line. It's not glamorous, but it's essential. You make your way to your chamber, the castle quiet and still. The weight of the day's work settles on you as you lie down, your body tired, but your mind at peace. You think about the boy struggling with the heavy sword, and you wonder what the future holds for him. Will he become a knight like you, or will his path lead him elsewhere? Either way, you know the lessons he learns now will stay with him for life. The sound of the wind outside lulls you to sleep, a gentle reminder of the world beyond the castle walls. As your breathing slows and your thoughts drift, you feel a deep sense of satisfaction. You've done your part today, and tomorrow will bring new challenges, new opportunities to prove yourself. For now, though, you let the darkness embrace you, the quiet of the night, offering a well-earned rest. The morning sun creeps through the narrow windows of your chamber, waking you from a dreamless sleep. Today is no ordinary day. It's a day of courtly duties and pageantry. As a knight, you're not just a warrior, you're also a public figure, a representative of your lord, and sometimes an unwilling participant in the endless rituals of medieval life. You stretch your muscles still aching from yesterday's practice and begin preparing for what promises to be a long day. First comes the dressing, a task that sounds simple but is anything but. You summon your squire, who arrives bleary-eyed but ready to assist. Layer by layer, your clothing transforms from practical to ceremonial. A padded tunic to cushion your armor, followed by hose and boots. Over this goes your surcoat emblazoned with your lord's emblem, a mark of allegiance and identity. Finally, you strap on your sword belt, the weight of the weapon, a comforting reminder of your status. As you leave your chamber, you're struck by the bustling energy of the castle. Servants scurry about carrying trays of food, polishing silver, and arranging tapestries. Today's event is a feast in honor of a visiting noble, and the entire household is in a state of controlled chaos. You pass through the great hall, where long tables are being set with trenchers and goblets. The scent of roasting meat wafts from the kitchen, mingling with the tang of fresh herbs and the faint aroma of beeswax candles. Your first task is to greet the visiting noble in the courtyard. The lord arrives on horseback, his retinue trailing behind him in a display of wealth and power. His banner flutters in the breeze, its colors vibrant against the gray stone of the castle walls. You bow deeply as he dismounts, your movements precise and practiced. The exchange of pleasantries feels like a performance, each word carefully chosen to convey respect without sycophancy. The noble's entourage includes knights, squires, and a few monks, their robes fluttering as they descend from their wagons. One of the knights catches your eye, a grizzled veteran with a scar running down his cheek. He nods at you, a silent acknowledgement of shared experience. The monks, meanwhile, carry books and scrolls, their presence a reminder of the church's ever-present influence in medieval life. Historians still debate whether knights were more beholden to their lords or to the church, but in moments like these, the answer feels clear: you serve both, and often at the same time. After the formal greetings, you lead the noble and his retinue into the great hall where the feast is set to begin. The hall is a riot of color and sound, with tapestries depicting heroic deeds lining the walls and minstrels tuning their instruments in the corner. The centerpiece of the room is the high table where you and the other knights will sit alongside the visiting noble and your lord. It's an honor to be included, though it also means you'll be under constant scrutiny. The meal is a spectacle, each course more extravagant than the last. There's roasted swan served in its feathers, a peacock pie with its tail fanned out in resplendent glory, and a delicate pudding flavored with rosewater. You try to eat with the decorum expected of a knight, though you can't help but envy the squires and servants who eat heartily at the lower tables without worrying about appearances. Between courses, the entertainment begins. A juggler tosses flaming torches, a minstrel sings a ballad of tragic love, and a troupe of dancers whirls across the floor in a blur of color. The noble seems pleased, his laughter ringing out above the din. You smile politely, though your mind drifts to the cost of such displays. The castle's coffers must be stretched thin to host a feast like this, a reality that weighs heavily on the shoulders of your lord. As the evening progresses, the conversation turns to matters of politics and warfare. The visiting noble shares news from his lands, a border dispute with a rival lord, a new alliance forged through marriage, and rumors of a brewing rebellion. You listen intently, aware that such information is as valuable as any treasure. Knowledge of alliances and rivalries can mean the difference between victory and defeat in the chessboard of medieval politics. At one point, the conversation shifts to the Crusades, a topic that stirs mixed feelings in the room. Some knights speak passionately about their experiences in the Holy Land, recounting battles against Saracen forces and the hardships of the long journey. Others remain silent, their expressions guarded. You've heard stories of knights who returned from the Crusades, changed their eyes, haunted by what they'd seen. Historians still argue whether the Crusades were driven more by religious fervor or political ambition. But for the knights who lived through them, the reasons often mattered less than the reality of the battles they fought. As the feast winds down, the minstrels play a final somber tune and the guests begin to disperse. You rise from the high table, your legs stiff from sitting for so long. Before retiring for the night, you take a moment to speak with the visiting knights, exchanging stories and insights. The grizzled veteran you noticed earlier shares a tale of a narrow escape during a skirmish, his voice tinged with both pride and regret. You nod, recognizing the unspoken truth in his words. For every victory, there's a cost. The castle grows quiet as the guests retire to their chambers. You make your way to the battlement, seeking a moment of solitude before the day ends. The night air is cool against your skin, and the stars shine brightly above. From this vantage point, you can see the surrounding countryside fields, forests, and the distant silhouette of a village. It's a reminder of the land you're sworn to protect, a land that relies on you and your fellow knights to maintain order. As you stand there, you think about the duality of your life. By day, you're a warrior, a protector, and a servant of your lord. By night, you're a man subject to the same doubts and dreams as anyone else. The weight of your responsibilities is heavy, but so is the sense of purpose that comes with them. You know that tomorrow will bring new challenges, new duties to fulfill. But for now, you let yourself savor this quiet moment, the stillness of the night wrapping around you like a cloak. You head back to your chamber, the castle now silent, except for the faint creak of wood and the occasional murmur of a guard. As you lie down, the events of the day replay in your mind: the feast, the stories, the camaraderie. It wasn't a day of battle or heroics, but it was a reminder of the complex, multifaceted life of a knight. You close your eyes, the sounds of the feast fading into the background of your thoughts. Sleep comes quickly, a welcome reprieve from the demands of the day. You wake to the sound of hooves on cobblestone and the muted clang of armor. The castle courtyard is alive with activity. Knights and squires prepare for a day of training. You know that as a knight, your life is a constant cycle of preparation. Even in times of peace, the art of war must be perfected, every muscle and reflex honed to its peak. Today you'll face the tilt yard, the training ground, where knights practice the deadly craft of jousting, swordsmanship, and mounted combat. Your squire is already at work polishing your armor until it gleams in the morning sunlight. He hands you a piece at a time. First, the chainmail, its interlocking rings cool against your skin. Then the plate armor, each section strapped tightly to your body. By the time you don your helmet, you feel the familiar weight of duty settle over you, both physical and symbolic. The tilt yard is a large open space bordered by wooden barriers. Other knights are already there, their horses snorting and pawing at the ground. You approach your own steed, a powerful destrier bred for war. Its black coat shines and its muscles ripple as it shifts impatiently. You mount with practiced ease, the saddle creaking under your weight. Your squire hands you a lancet's tip capped with a blunt head for training. Despite the safety measures, the tilt yard is no place for carelessness. A fall from your horse or a poorly aimed blow can still result in serious injury or worse. The jousting begins with a series of passes against the quintain, a rotating wooden target designed to simulate an opponent. You charge down the tilt, your lance aimed squarely at the shield mounted on the quintain's arm. The impact sends the target spinning wildly, and you feel a surge of satisfaction. Yet the quintain doesn't fight back, and you know that facing a real opponent is an entirely different challenge. Next comes sparring, a test of skill and strategy. You pair off with another knight, your swords clashing in a blur of motion. The fight is intense, each of you pushing the other to the limit. Sweat drips down your face beneath your helmet, and your arms ache from the effort. When the bout finally ends, you're both breathing heavily, your swords nicked and dulled from the exchange. You clasp hands in a gesture of mutual respect, acknowledging the skill and determination it takes to excel in such an unforgiving discipline. As the morning progresses, the training grows more grueling. You practice mounted combat using your lance and sword to strike at targets while maneuvering your horse with precision. The destrier responds to your commands as if it were an extension of your body, its training as rigorous as your own. Historians still argue whether knights owed more of their battlefield success to their personal skill or to the prowess of their mounts, but you know that the bond between a knight and his horse is crucial. Without trust and coordination, even the most skilled warrior would be at a disadvantage. Amid the intense training, moments of levity emerge. One knight's lance shatters spectacularly against the quintain, sending splinters flying. Another loses his balance during a mock duel and lands in the dirt with a thud, his laughter ringing out despite the indignity. These small breaks in the seriousness of the tilt yard remind you that camaraderie is as much a part of knighthood as combat. By midday, the sun blazes overhead and the knights take a break to rest and eat. You remove your helmet, relishing the cool breeze on your face. The squires bring water and food, simple fare of bread, cheese, and salted meat. You eat quickly, knowing that the afternoon will bring more challenges. The conversation among the knights turns to tales of past battles, each story a mix of fact and embellishment. You share one of your own, recounting a skirmish against raiders in which your quick thinking turned the tide of the fight. The others listen intently, their expressions a mix of admiration and curiosity. The afternoon's training focuses on group tactics, a reminder that knights rarely fight alone. You and your fellow knights form a shield wall, practicing coordinated movements to withstand an imaginary assault. The exercise requires discipline and trust, each knight relying on the others to hold the line. It's a stark contrast to the individualism of the joust, but just as vital to your role as a knight. You know that on the battlefield, the strength of your unit can mean the difference between victory and defeat. As the day winds down, you return to the castle, your body aching, but your spirit invigorated. The tilt yard is more than just a place to practice. It's a crucible that sharpens your skills, a proving ground where you reaffirm your commitment to the ideals of knighthood. You remove your armor piece by piece, each section feeling lighter as it comes off. Your squire takes the gear, his respect for you evident in the care he gives to every buckle and strap. The evening brings a sense of calm. You stroll through the castle gardens, the scent of flowers mingling with the earthy aroma of freshly tilled soil. The gardens are a rare place of beauty in a world often dominated by hardship and conflict. As you walk, you reflect on the day's training and the lessons it imparted. You think about the balance a knight must maintain between strength and discipline, courage and humility, duty and personal ambition. Back in your chamber, you prepare for a night of rest. Your body feels heavy as you lie down, the exhaustion from the day's exertions pulling you towards sleep. You think about the tilt yard, the camaraderie of your fellow knights, and the relentless pursuit of excellence that defines your life. The world of the medieval knight is one of constant challenge, but it's also one of purpose and honor. As your eyes close, you feel a sense of pride in the path you've chosen, even as you know that tomorrow will bring new tests to face. The quiet of the castle at night is a welcome reprieve from the clamor of the day. The corridors are lit by flickering torches, their warm glow casting long, wavering shadows on the stone walls. You're awake, your body still restless, despite the grueling hours spent in the tilt yard. There's a hum of activity somewhere in the distance, a late-night gathering of courtiers perhaps, or the muffled tones of a minstrel's lute drifting from the great hall. You decide to wander, letting your thoughts meander as you explore the quieter corners of your world. The castle at night feels different, almost magical in its stillness. The air is cool and carries a faint hint of wood smoke from the hearths. You find yourself in the chapel, a small but elegant space adorned with stained glass and polished wood. The soft light from the moon filters through the windows, creating patterns on the floor. You kneel before the altar not out of obligation, but as part of your nightly routine. Prayer and reflection are as much a part of your knighthood as the sword and shield. You ask for guidance, strength, and perhaps in an unspoken thought, a bit of luck. Historians still argue about the depth of religious devotion among medieval knights. Were they genuinely pious, or was their faith more about appearances and politics? For you, it's both a personal solace and a public duty. The Church wields immense power, and aligning yourself with its teachings is as practical as it is spiritual. The chaplain often reminds you that knights are warriors of God bound by a divine mission to protect the weak and uphold justice. Tonight the words resonate, though you wonder if every knight sees it that way. After all, ideals are one thing. Reality often demands compromise. Leaving the chapel, you head toward the armory, a place that holds its own kind of reverence. Rows of weapons and armor glint faintly in the torchlight, each piece a testament to the craftsmanship and resources poured into equipping a knight. Your eyes linger on a particularly ornate sword, its hilt adorned with gold filigree. It's ceremonial, used in rituals rather than battle. Most knights prefer weapons that are simple and reliable tools for survival rather than symbols of status. But the ceremonial pieces have their place, reminding you that knighthood is as much about pageantry as it is about pragmatism. Your musings are interrupted by the sound of footsteps. It's one of the younger squires, clearly startled to find you here. He stammers an apology, but you wave it off, asking him what brings him to the armory at such an hour. He explains that he's here to inspect the equipment for tomorrow's drills, his voice betraying both nervousness and pride. You smile, remembering your own days as a squire, when the weight of responsibility felt both thrilling and overwhelming. You offer him a word of encouragement, and he relaxes, his gratitude evident. It's a small moment, but one that reinforces the bond between knight and squire, a relationship built on mentorship and mutual respect. As you leave the armory, you think about the journey that brought you here. Becoming a knight is no small feat. The path begins in childhood, with years spent as a page learning the basics of courtly manners, horsemanship, and rudimentary combat. From there, you advance to squire, a role that demanded not only physical training, but also unwavering loyalty to a knight. The days were long, filled with endless tasks, polishing armor, caring for horses, and observing every detail of a knight's duties. It was a time of discipline and aspiration, each step bringing you closer to the dream of knighthood. You remember the day you were dubbed a knight, the culmination of years of effort. The ceremony was a blend of solemnity and spectacle, a public acknowledgement of your readiness to take on the responsibilities of your new station. You knelt before your lord, the flat of a sword pressed lightly to your shoulder as he spoke the words that would forever change your life. Rising as a knight, you felt a surge of pride tempered by the weight of the oaths you had sworn. Protect the weak, defend the realm, and uphold the ideals of chivalry. They were lofty promises, and you've spent every day since striving to live up to them. The sound of laughter draws you toward the kitchens, where the night staff is busy preparing for the morning. The air is thick with the aroma of bread baking and meat roasting, a tantalizing reminder of the simple pleasures in life. You chat briefly with the cooks, their easy camaraderie a contrast to the formalities of the court. One of them offers you a slice of warm bread, and you accept it with a smile. The moment is grounding, a reminder that beneath the armor and titles, you are still human with the same basic needs as anyone else. Returning to your chamber, you notice a small chest near your bed. Inside are letters from your family, tokens of a life that feels distant yet ever present. One letter catches your eye, a message from your younger sibling, filled with tales of home, and the everyday challenges of managing the estate. The words are simple but heartfelt, a reminder of the people who depend on you. Your role as a knight extends beyond the battlefield. You are also a protector of your family's legacy, a steward of their honor and fortunes. As you settle into bed, your thoughts drift to the future. What will tomorrow bring? Perhaps more training, or perhaps a summons to court where political intrigues demand as much skill as any duel. You know that the life of a knight is unpredictable, a constant balancing act between duty and desire, tradition and change. Yet despite the challenges, you wouldn't trade it for anything. The path you've chosen is one of purpose and meaning, a life dedicated to something greater than yourself. Your eyes grow heavy and the sounds of the castle fade into the background. The weight of the day's events lulls you into a deep, restful sleep. Whatever tomorrow holds, you know you'll face it with the courage and resolve that define a true knight. The world of the medieval knight is far from easy, but it's a world you're proud to call your own. The morning arrives quietly, the first light of dawn spilling into your chamber and casting golden hues on the stone walls. You wake to the sound of activity outside, a rooster crowing, the clatter of horses being led to the stables, and the faint murmur of servants beginning their day. Stretching, you prepare for another day of knightly duties, the rituals of your life as structured as the castle itself. Your morning routine starts with donning a simple tunic, leaving the heavier garments for later. The air is brisk as you make your way to the training grounds where squires and knights are already gathering. The day begins with exercises designed to sharpen both body and mind. Today it's sword drills, an unrelenting series of parry strikes and footwork that leave your muscles burning. The younger squires struggle to keep up their movements, awkward and hesitant. You pause to offer guidance, demonstrating the proper technique with patience that comes from years of experience. The training ground buzzes with energy, a mixture of grunts, shouts, and the metallic clang of blades meeting. There's a camaraderie here, a shared purpose that binds everyone together. But the drills are more than just preparation for battle. They are a reminder of the discipline that knighthood demands. Even in times of peace, a knight must remain vigilant, ready to serve and protect at a moment's notice. As the morning progresses, the focus shifts to horsemanship. Mounted combat is a cornerstone of a knight's skill set, and today's lesson involves charging at a quintain, a rotating wooden target designed to mimic an opponent. You mount your destrier, the powerful warhorse shifting beneath you with a restless energy. Guiding the horse with practiced ease, you take aim at the quintain, your lance striking it cleanly and sending it spinning. The squires watch in awe, and you can't help but smile, remembering your own awestruck gaze as a young boy watching seasoned knights perform the same feat. Historians often debate the effectiveness of mounted knights in medieval warfare. Some argue that their dominance was overestimated, pointing to instances where infantry or innovative tactics turned the tide of battle. Others maintain that the psychological impact of a cavalry charge, hundreds of armored knights thundering across the field, was enough to break even the most disciplined ranks. As you guide your horse back to the starting line, you wonder where the truth lies, though such musings are quickly set aside as another charge begins. After the drills, you return to the stables to care for your horse. The bond between knight and steed is almost sacred, forged through years of mutual reliance. You brush the horse's coat, murmuring softly as it nuzzles your hand. The stable master approaches, offering a few tips on maintaining the horse's hooves. It's a reminder that even the smallest details matter, for a knight is only as strong as his mount. The midday meal is a simple affair shared in the great hall with other knights and members of the household. The food is hearty stew bread and ale meant to fuel you for the rest of the day. Conversations range from the mundane to the strategic, with knights discussing everything from the condition of their armor to rumors of unrest in distant lands. It's here that you see the human side of your comrades, their laughter and banter, a contrast to the stoic images they present on the battlefield. After the meal, you're summoned to the castle's council chamber. The lord of the castle presides over the gathering, flanked by advisors and clerks. Today's agenda includes a dispute over land boundaries, a matter that requires both diplomacy and a firm sense of justice. As a knight, your role extends beyond combat. You are also a mediator and enforcer of the Lord's will. The discussions are heated, with both parties presenting their cases with fervor. You listen carefully, weighing the arguments before offering your input. In the end, a compromise is reached, and you feel a sense of satisfaction in knowing that your words have helped maintain peace within the realm. The council meeting transitions into a discussion of broader matters, including the state of the castle's defenses. Maps are unrolled and plans for repairs and improvements are debated. You're reminded of the constant need for vigilance even in times of relative stability. The walls that protect the castle must be maintained, the garrison kept ready, and supplies stockpiled for any eventuality. It's a sobering thought, but one that reinforces the importance of your duties. As the afternoon wanes, you find yourself in the armory inspecting your gear. Each piece of armor tells a story, from the dents and scratches earned in battle to the careful engravings that mark your family's crest. The weight of the armor is both literal and symbolic, a reminder of the responsibilities you bear. You take your time, polishing the metal, the repetitive motion, almost meditative. Nearby, a squire fumbles with a breastplate, and you step in to help, offering advice that will save him hours of frustration. It's a small moment, but one that highlights the unspoken mentorship that defines the relationship between knights and their apprentices. As the day draws to a close, you head to the castle's walls. The view from the battlements is breathtaking, the rolling hills and dense forests, bathed in the warm light of the setting sun. It's a moment of quiet reflection, a chance to step back from the demands of your role and simply exist. You think about the legacy of knighthood, the generations of warriors who have come before you, and the ideals they've upheld. It's a heavy burden, but also a source of pride. Night falls, and the castle begins to settle into its evening rhythms. You join your fellow knights for a final gathering in the great hall, where stories are shared and songs are sung. The atmosphere is relaxed, a welcome contrast to the structured chaos of the day. As the fire crackles in the hearth, you find yourself drawn into a tale of heroism and adventure, the kind of story that inspired you to pursue knighthood in the first place. Finally, you retire to your chamber, exhaustion pulling at your limbs. The day has been long, but fulfilling, a testament to the multifaceted life of a knight. As you lie in bed, your thoughts drift to the future, the challenges and triumphs that await. Whatever comes, you know you'll face it with the courage and determination that define your calling. Sleep takes you quickly, the sounds of the castle fading into the background as dreams of chivalry and adventure fill your mind. The dawn rises slowly, but the rhythm of castle life starts well before the sun fully crests the horizon. You awaken to the muffled sounds of servants bustling about, their hurried footsteps on stone floors, signaling another busy day. Stretching beneath the heavy blankets, you briefly consider the comforting warmth of your bed before the demands of duty beckon you to rise. The day begins, as always, with prayers in the castle's small chapel. The air inside is cool and still, the flickering candlelight casting elongated shadows on the walls adorned with sacred symbols. You kneel among your fellow knights, the quiet murmurs of devotion forming a soothing backdrop. For a knight, faith is as much a part of daily life as combat training. It fortifies your spirit, a constant reminder that your actions are in service of something greater than yourself. Historians continue to debate the depth of religiosity among knights. whether their piety was genuine or simply a tool of propaganda. But as you clasp your hands in prayer, the sincerity of the moment feels undeniable. From the chapel, you move directly to the practice fields where the morning drills have already begun. Today, the focus is archery, a skill often overshadowed by the glamour of swordplay and jousting. Standing in line with other knights, you string your bow and take aim at the distant targets. The snap of the bowstring and the satisfying thud of arrows finding their mark echo across the field. Archery may lack the theatricality of a lance charge, but its utility is unquestionable. You remember tales of battles turned by well-placed volleys of arrows, their fletched shafts cutting through the chaos like whispers of death. Nearby, a group of squires struggles with their bows, their shots veering wildly off course. You step over, demonstrating the proper stance and draw. One boy, his face red with frustration, fumbles repeatedly. It's not the bow's fault, you tease, gently adjusting his grip. When his next arrow lands closer to the target, his grin is wide enough to light the cloudy morning. Moments like this remind you of the continuity of knighthood, the unbroken chain of mentorship that stretches back through generations. After the archery practice, the squires set up for an exercise in siege warfare. A crude wooden fort has been constructed at the far end of the field, and your task is to lead a mock assault. Siegecraft is a grueling art requiring patient strategy and no small amount of brute force. As you organize your troops, you reflect on the historical significance of sieges in medieval warfare. While pitched battles are the stuff of legend, it's the slow grind of siege campaigns that often decides the fate of castles and kingdoms. The exercise begins with the construction of siege engines, small-scale versions of battering rams and trebuchets. The squires grumble as they haul the heavy timber into place, their complaints met with good-natured ribbing from the older knights. As the fort is bombarded with stones and breached by the ram, you can't help but marvel at the ingenuity of medieval engineering. The trebuchet in particular is a masterpiece of physics, its counterweight mechanism allowing for devastating range and accuracy. Imagine the poor soul who thought to stand beneath that you mutter to a nearby knight, earning a chuckle. The exercise ends with a mock melee inside the fort, wooden swords clashing against shields in a controlled chaos. Your team emerges victorious, the enemy knights surrendering with exaggerated groans of defeat. It's all in good fun, but the lessons are serious coordination. Adaptability and the ability to lead under pressure are the cornerstones of success, both in these games and in the grim realities of war. With the mock siege concluded, the knights gather for a midday feast. The great hall is filled with the comforting aroma of roasted meats and freshly baked bread. You sit at the long wooden table, surrounded by the camaraderie of your peers. Stories of past battles and distant travels fill the air, punctuated by bursts of laughter. One knight recounts a particularly harrowing encounter with a band of highwaymen, his exaggerated gestures drawing amused jeers. It's a moment of levity that feels well-earned after the morning's exertions. After the meal, the hall clears as the lord of the castle summons a select group of knights for a strategy meeting. You are among those called a testament to the trust placed in your judgment. The topic of discussion is a nearby village that has been plagued by bandit raids. Maps are spread across the table and plans are made to reinforce the area. It's a stark reminder that knighthood is not all tournaments and glory. Sometimes it's about protecting the vulnerable from the harsh realities of medieval life. Historians often highlight the dual nature of knights as both warriors and protectors. While their martial prowess is celebrated in song and story, their role in maintaining order within the Lord's domain is equally important. As you listen to the discussion, you're struck by the complexity of the task. The bandits are a symptom of deeper issues, poverty, desperation, and the fragile balance of feudal economics. Resolving the immediate threat is necessary, but the root causes linger like a shadow over the land. The meeting concludes with a plan to dispatch a contingent of knights to the troubled village. You volunteer to lead the mission, eager to put your skills to use beyond the castle walls. The Lord nods approvingly, and preparations begin immediately. Your squire helps you pack your gear, ensuring your armor is polished and your weapons sharp. The young boy's enthusiasm is infectious, his chatter filled with questions about what the journey will entail. Will there be a real fight? He asks, his eyes wide with a mix of excitement and apprehension. You ruffle his hair, reminding him that the goal is to avoid conflict if possible. Diplomacy, after all, is often the first weapon in a knight's arsenal. As the afternoon wanes, you take a moment to reflect on the upcoming task. The life of a knight is one of constant movement, a balance between the stability of the castle and the unpredictable demands of the wider world. You think back to the lessons of your youth, the ideals of chivalry that shaped your path. Protect the weak, serve your lord, and uphold honor. These principles guide your every action, even when the lines between right and wrong blur. The sun sets as you finalize your preparations, the sky awash in hues of orange and purple. The castle is quiet, the day's activities giving way to the stillness of evening. You retire to the Great Hall one last time, sharing a simple meal with your fellow knights. There's a sense of anticipation in the air, a collective understanding of the challenges that lie ahead. As you exchange stories and jokes, you feel a deep connection to these men and women, a bond forged through shared experiences and unspoken loyalty. Finally, you retreat to your chamber, the weight of the day settling over you like a cloak. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but for now, you allow yourself the luxury of rest. The flickering candlelight casts a warm glow over the room. As you sink into bed, your thoughts drifting to the journey ahead. Sleep comes slowly, but when it does, it carries with it the promise of adventure and the enduring spirit of knighthood. The dawn is still a faint suggestion on the horizon when the castle comes alive with the quiet hum of preparation. You rise before the first rooster's crow, slipping into the comforting weight of your armor with practiced ease. Your squire scurries about, fastening buckles and handing you your sword with a reverence that belies its familiarity. Today is not a battle, at least not in the traditional sense, but the seriousness of the mission hangs in the air like a heavy fog. As you ride out of the castle gates with your small band of knights, the cold morning air bites at your face. The rhythm of hoofbeats on the dirt road is steady and reassuring, a constant backdrop to your thoughts. The countryside stretches out before you, a patchwork of rolling hills, dense forests, and quiet villages. It's a reminder of the vastness of the Lord's domain and the responsibility that comes with defending it. You glance back at the men and women riding behind you, their faces resolute. It's a small group, but one you trust implicitly. These are seasoned knights, each with their own tales of triumph and loss etched into their expressions. The journey to the village is uneventful at first, allowing you to savor the beauty of the land. A stream glistens in the early sunlight, its gentle babbling accompanied by the occasional chirp of birds. It's easy to forget the hardships of life in these moments, but a distant plume of smoke serves as a sobering reminder. The village isn't far now, and the signs of trouble are impossible to ignore. When you arrive, the sight is grim. Houses stand half-burned, their blackened frames jutting into the sky like skeletal remains. Villagers scurry about, their faces etched with fear and exhaustion. A group gathers as your party dismounts, their hopeful eyes fixed on you. You feel the weight of their expectations pressing down, but you greet them with a steady voice and a calm demeanor. A middle-aged man steps forward, introducing himself as the village elder. His voice trembles as he recounts the raids, describing the bandits as ruthless and well-organized. Walking through the village, you take in the devastation. Livestock pens stand empty, their gates hanging ajar. A few villagers attempt to rebuild their hands. Raw and calloused from the effort, a child peers out from behind her mother's skirt, her wide eyes a mixture of curiosity and fear. It's in these moments that the true cost of violence becomes clear. While knights may focus on the clamor of battle, it's the aftermath that lingers, the lives upended, the homes reduced to ash. As the knights spread out to assess the situation, you meet with the elder and a few other villagers in a small hut that has been repurposed as a meeting place. Maps are unfurled on a rough-hewn table, and the elder points to the areas where the bandits have struck. It's clear they know the terrain well, using the dense forest and winding paths to their advantage. You listen intently, formulating a plan. Historians often debate the effectiveness of knights in addressing local issues like this. Were they true protectors of the people or merely extensions of their lord's will? Standing in this smoky, dimly lit room, you feel the question's weight. When you emerge, your plan is met with nods of approval from the other knights. You'll set up an ambush near the main path the bandits use to approach the village, using the element of surprise to your advantage. It's a risky move, one that requires precision and coordination, but you're confident in your team's ability. The villagers, too, are eager to assist, offering what little they have to support the effort. A young man volunteers to act as a scout, his knowledge of the area proving invaluable. You admire his courage, though you caution him about the dangers. As night falls, the village settles into an uneasy quiet. The knights take up positions near the ambush site, their forms blending into the shadows. The forest around you is alive with the sounds of nocturnal creatures, their calls and rustlings, creating a symphony of anticipation. You crouch low, your hand resting on the hilt of your sword, every muscle tensed. The waiting is the hardest part, the minutes stretching into what feels like hours. When the bandits finally appear, their approach is almost casual. They carry torches that cast flickering light across their faces, revealing a mix of hardened criminals and desperate men. You signal to the knights, and the trap is sprung. In an instant, the quiet night erupts into chaos. Shouts echo through the trees as the knights charge, their swords gleaming in the torchlight. The bandits, caught off guard, scramble to defend themselves, but the element of surprise is on your side. The clash is brief but intense. You focus on a tall bandit wielding a crude axe, your movements fluid and precise. The training drills you've repeated countless times come to life, each strike and parry a testament to your discipline. Around you, the other knights engage with similar efficiency, their teamwork honed through years of practice. One bandit attempts to flee, but he's quickly subdued by a squire who surprises everyone with his speed. When the dust settles, the bandits are either captured or scattered into the night. You stand in the aftermath, catching your breath as the villagers emerge from their homes. Their expressions are a mix of relief and gratitude, their fears finally laid to rest. The elder approaches, his voice breaking as he thanks you. It's a humbling moment, a reminder of why you took up the mantle of knighthood in the first place. Back in the village, the knights and villagers work together to secure the remaining bandits and tend to the wounded. A makeshift celebration begins to take shape, the villagers eager to express their gratitude. Food is shared, laughter echoes through the night, and for the first time in weeks, the village feels alive again. You sit by the fire, the warmth seeping into your bones as you listen to the elder recount stories of the village's past. It's a small victory, but one that carries immense significance for those who call this place home. As the night deepens, you find a quiet moment to reflect. The life of a knight is filled with challenges, but it's in these moments of connection and service that you find meaning. The villagers may never know the full extent of what it takes to wear the armor, but their smiles and gratitude are enough. You close your eyes, letting the crackle of the fire and the murmurs of conversation lull you into a sense of peace. Tomorrow will bring new trials, but for now you allow yourself to rest. The morning sun filters through the trees as you and your companions prepare to leave the village. It's a bittersweet departure. There's relief in knowing the people are safe for now, but the weight of responsibility tugs at you. Villagers gather to bid you farewell, their gratitude evident in the small tokens they press into your hands: a bundle of herbs, a simple wooden carving, a loaf of freshly baked bread. These gifts, though humble, carry profound meaning. Your squire leads your horse toward you, the animal, nickering softly as you run a hand down its neck. Mounting with practiced ease, you glance back at the villagers one last time, committing their faces to memory. The road ahead is long, but their safety offers a sense of accomplishment. As your party sets off, the clinking of armor and the steady rhythm of hoofbeats provide a comforting familiarity. Yet the lingering smell of smoke from the village reminds you of the fragility of peace. The journey back to the castle is uneventful, a welcome change after the intensity of the past days. The countryside unfolds like a living tapestry, its beauty a stark contrast to the harsh realities of knighthood. Fields of wheat sway gently in the breeze, their golden hue bright under the sun. A shepherd waves as you pass his flock, scattered across a hilltop. These serene moments offer a rare opportunity to reflect, to appreciate the world you're sworn to protect. Your thoughts drift to the concept of chivalry, the guiding principle of your life as a knight. Historians often debate the extent to which knights adhered to the chivalric code. Was it truly a set of ideals upheld in every aspect of life, or more of a convenient veneer for political maneuvering and personal ambition? Riding through the countryside, you find yourself pondering this question. You've seen acts of great nobility and selflessness, but you've also witnessed the darker sides of knighthood: greed, cruelty, and betrayal. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between, shaped as much by individual character as by societal expectations. The castle looms in the distance as you approach its towers, reaching skyward like sentinels. The drawbridge creaks under the weight of your horse as you cross the moat, the water below reflecting the castle's formidable silhouette. Within the walls, life bustles with activity. Servants carry baskets of vegetables from the gardens. Children dart between the stables and the kitchens, and the blacksmith's hammer rings out in a steady rhythm. It's a microcosm of the feudal system, every individual playing their part to sustain the whole. After reporting to your lord about the success of the mission, you find a rare moment to yourself in the chapel. The cool stone walls and flickering candlelight create a sense of calm, a stark contrast to the chaos of battle. You kneel before the altar, offering a prayer of thanks for the lives spared and the courage granted. Faith plays a significant role in the life of a knight, providing both solace and a moral compass. Yet you can't help but question how often those ideals are tested in the harsh realities of war and politics. Later, you join your fellow knights in the great hall for a meal. The atmosphere is lively, the air filled with the sounds of laughter and the clatter of utensils. Plates are piled high with roasted meats, thick slices of bread, and bowls of stewed vegetables. A bard weaves through the crowd, singing tales of heroism and adventure, his lute adding a melodic undercurrent to the evening. You catch snippets of conversation ranging from lighthearted banter to serious discussions about strategy and governance. It's a reminder that knighthood isn't just about combat, it's also about camaraderie, diplomacy, and leadership. As the night wears on, the hall begins to empty, the knights retiring to their chambers one by one. You linger by the fire, the warmth a welcome comfort after the chill of the road. Your squire approaches carrying a small wooden box. Inside are the tokens given to you by the villagers, a poignant reminder of the lives you've touched. You thank him and send him off to rest his youthful eagerness, tempered by the weight of responsibility. When you finally retire to your quarters, the quiet is almost startling. The flicker of the candle on your bedside table casts dancing shadows on the walls. Removing your armor feels like shedding a second skin, the weight of the metal replaced by the ache of weary muscles. As you sink onto the bed, the soft rustle of the sheets is a luxury you rarely allow yourself to notice. For a brief moment, you let your mind wander, imagining a life without the burdens of knighthood. But the thought is fleeting, replaced by the resolute understanding that this is the path you've chosen. Sleep comes in fits and starts, interrupted by dreams of battle and the faces of those you've sworn to protect. When morning comes, you rise with a renewed sense of purpose. There's always another challenge on the horizon, another call to arms. The life of a knight is one of constant motion, a delicate balance between duty and humanity. Today, the focus shifts from the battlefield to the training yard. The younger squires are already at work when you arrive, their wooden swords clashing with a rhythmic clatter. You take your place among the seasoned knights, demonstrating techniques and offering guidance. The training yard is more than just a place to hone skills. It's where the next generation of knights is forged. Watching the squire struggle and succeed, you're reminded of your own early days, the lessons learned through trial and error. One squire in particular catches your attention, his determination evident in every swing of his sword. You offer him a few pointers, adjusting his stance and grip. He listens intently, his eyes alight with ambition. It's moments like these that underscore the importance of mentorship, of passing down knowledge and values to those who will one day take up the mantle. By midday, the sun is high and the training session comes to an end. The squires disperse their laughter and chatter, filling the air as they head toward the kitchens for a well-earned meal. You linger a moment longer, the training yard empty, except for the echoes of the morning's activity. It's a space imbued with history, every scuff on the ground and mark on the wooden posts, a testament to the countless hours spent preparing for the uncertainties of life as a knight. As you make your way back to the castle, you reflect on the duality of your existence. The life of a knight is one of contrasts, peace and conflict, duty and desire, strength and vulnerability. It's a path that demands sacrifice, but also offers profound moments of connection and purpose. The sun dips lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the courtyard. Another day draws to a close, but the journey continues, each step a reminder of the enduring legacy of knighthood. The days blur together as the rhythms of castle life envelop you. Dawn breaks with the tolling of bells, calling everyone to their tasks. For you, this means another round of responsibilities as both a warrior and a leader. The life of a knight is not just a flurry of swords and battles. It's also diplomacy, governance, and maintaining the delicate web of relationships that hold a medieval society together. This morning, your role shifts from protector to negotiator, as your lord calls upon you to accompany him to a nearby manor to mediate a land dispute. The journey is short, the scenery familiar. As you ride through the forest, you can't help but appreciate its quiet beauty. Sunlight filters through the canopy, creating dappled patterns on the ground. Birds flit between branches, their songs a cheerful backdrop. But even in this tranquility, the purpose of your mission looms large. Disputes like this over a strip of farmland or a contested boundary can spiral into feuds lasting generations. Your presence as a knight, armored and impartial, is meant to symbolize justice and deter any thoughts of violence. Arriving at the manor, you're greeted by the steward who leads you into the hall. The air is tense, the room filled with local landowners and their families. Two men stand at the center, their expressions hard, their voices clipped. The disputed land is a small tract, barely enough to sustain a single family, but its value is magnified by pride and history. As the Lord begins to speak, you notice how carefully he chooses his words, attempting to soothe egos while seeking a fair resolution. Your role here is less about speaking and more about observing. The room watches you as much as it listens to the Lord. The gleam of your armor, the sword at your side, they are silent reminders of the consequences of discord. Historians often debate how much knights influence such negotiations. Were you truly peacekeepers or merely enforcers of feudal authority? Today you feel more like a bridge between the two, balancing strength with a hope for understanding. After hours of tense discussion, a compromise is reached. The land will be divided, each party receiving an equal share. It's a solution that leaves no one entirely satisfied but prevents further conflict. As the meeting concludes, you notice the subtle shifts in the room, the relief in the steward's shoulders, the softening of expressions among the families. This too is knighthood, not the glory of battle, but the quiet triumph of preserving peace. Returning to the castle, you're greeted with another task. A caravan of merchants has arrived, seeking protection as they prepare to travel to the next town. The roads are dangerous, plagued by bandits who prey on the unwary. Agreeing to escort them, you take the opportunity to speak with the merchants. Their stories are as varied as their wares. One man tells of trading spices from lands so far away, you can barely comprehend the journey, while another boasts of rare fabrics, dyed in colors that seem to shimmer in the light. The caravan departs at dawn, the wagons creaking under their loads. Riding at the front, you scan the horizon, ever vigilant for signs of trouble. The landscape feels different now, less serene, more watchful. Every rustle in the underbrush, every distant shout, sets your senses on edge. The life of a knight is one of constant awareness, a readiness to act at a moment's notice. When the attack comes, it's sudden and chaotic. Bandits spring from the trees, their weapons crude but effective. The merchants scream, scrambling for cover as the bandits charge. You and your companions react instinctively, drawing swords and forming a defensive line. The clash is brief but intense, your training guiding your every move. The bandits are no match for the discipline and skill of seasoned knights. Within minutes, they retreat, melting back into the forest. Surveying the aftermath, you feel a mix of emotions. Relief at the merchant's safety, pride in your companion's courage, but also a lingering unease. The bandits were desperate, their attack driven by the same hunger and need that plague the poorest in the kingdom. It's a harsh reminder of the inequalities that underpin your world, a reality that no amount of chivalric ideals can fully address. The caravan resumes its journey, arriving safely at its destination. As the merchants thank you, their gratitude feels genuine, but you can't shake the image of the bandits' hollow eyes. Riding back to the castle, you find yourself reflecting on the complexities of your role. Protecting some often means confronting others, and the line between justice and survival can blur in ways that leave no one truly victorious. Back at the castle, the evening brings a rare moment of levity. A feast is held in honor of a visiting dignitary, and the great hall is transformed into a scene of revelry. Long tables groan under the weight of roasted meats, fresh bread, and flagons of ale. Minstrels play lively tunes, their melodies weaving through the laughter and chatter of the assembled guests. It's a chance to set aside the burdens of duty, if only for a few hours. You find yourself seated near the dignitary, a portly man with a booming laugh, and a seemingly endless appetite for both food and stories. He regales the table with tales of his travels, embellishing details to the point of absurdity. And then he declares, waving a drumstick for emphasis, "I tamed the beast with nothing but a loaf of stale bread." The table erupts in laughter, and you can't help but join in the moment. A welcome escape from the weight of your responsibilities. As the feast winds down, you step outside for a breath of fresh air. The night is crisp, the stars scattered across the sky like a spilled treasure chest. In the distance, the faint hum of the revelry continues, but here the world feels quiet and still. You lean against the stone wall of the castle, your thoughts drifting. It's nights like these amidst the contrasts of joy and duty that remind you why you became a knight. The challenges are relentless. The sacrifice is great, but the moments of connection and purpose make it all worthwhile. Eventually, you return to your chamber, the warmth of the fire welcoming you back. Removing your armor piece by piece, you feel the day's weight slip away. The flicker of the flames casts dancing shadows on the walls, their movement almost hypnotic. Sitting by the hearth, you allow yourself a rare moment of stillness, the echoes of the day fading into the quiet of the night. As sleep begins to claim you, you reflect on the journey that brought you here, the trials, the triumphs, the lessons learned along the way. The life of a knight is not an easy one, but it is a life rich with meaning, a tapestry woven with threads of courage, duty, and humanity. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new opportunities to serve. But for now, you let the stillness of the night envelop you, a brief respite in the endless journey of knighthood. The morning sun filters through the high, narrow windows of the castle, its golden light catching on the tapestries and illuminating the dust motes that dance lazily in the air. You're already awake, fastening the straps of your gambeson as the first echoes of activity ripple through the halls. Today promises another test of your mettle, not with a sword, but with your ability to lead. Your lord has tasked you with overseeing a training session for the castle's young squires. It's not an uncommon duty for a knight, but it comes with its own set of challenges. The squires are eager, often to the point of recklessness, their youthful energy both a blessing and a curse. Teaching them requires patience and a firm hand, as well as the ability to temper their enthusiasm with discipline. As you step into the training yard, the squires are already assembled, their wooden practice swords in hand. Their chatter quiets as you approach, the weight of your presence enough to command attention. You start with the basics: stances, footwork, and controlled strikes. It's clear which among them have a natural aptitude and which struggle to keep up, but all share a determination to improve. Remember, you say your voice steady, but firm strength alone won't win you a fight. Technique, strategy, and discipline are just as important, if not more so. You demonstrate a parry, your movements deliberate and precise, before inviting the squires to practice in pairs. The yard fills with the sounds of wooden swords clashing, punctuated by your corrections and encouragements. One boy, barely 13, fumbles his grip and nearly trips over his own feet. You resist the urge to sigh, instead stepping closer to guide him. Hold it like this, you instruct, adjusting his hands on the hilt. And keep your knees bent. You're not a statue, you need to move. The boy nods, his face flushing with determination, and tries again. This time his movements are more controlled, and a small smile of satisfaction crosses his face. It's moments like these that remind you of the importance of your role, not just as a warrior, but as a mentor. The session ends with a mock battle, the squires divided into two teams. You watch closely, noting how each of them applies the lessons they've learned. Some show promise, their movements fluid and confident. Others struggle, but their persistence is commendable. As the mock battle concludes, you gather them together, offering praise for their efforts and advice for improvement. Leaving the training yard, you're struck by a sense of nostalgia. You remember your own days as a squire, the countless hours spent under the watchful eye of your mentor. His voice, gruff but encouraging, still echoes in your mind. It's a reminder of how far you've come, and of the responsibility you now bear to guide the next generation. Your reflections are interrupted by a messenger who informs you that your presence is requested in the Great Hall. A delegation has arrived seeking aid for their village, which has been plagued by raids from a neighboring fief. The politics of such requests are always delicate. Offering assistance risks escalating tensions, but refusing could leave the village vulnerable and tarnish your lord's reputation. As you listen to the villagers' pleas, you're struck by their desperation. Their clothes are patched and worn, their faces lined with worry. The leader of the delegation, a wiry man with a weathered face, speaks of crops, stolen homes burned, and families living in fear. Your lord turns to you, his expression thoughtful. "What say you?" he asks, his tone measured. You consider the situation carefully. The neighboring fief is known for its aggressive tactics, but outright confrontation could lead to war, a costly and uncertain endeavor. After a moment, you propose a compromise, sending a small force of knights to patrol the village's borders and deter further raids. It's a solution that balances strength with restraint, and your lord nods in approval. The villagers leave with renewed hope, their gratitude evident in their expressions. As they depart, you can't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. Once again, your role as a knight extends beyond the battlefield, encompassing the protection of those who cannot protect themselves. Later that afternoon, you find yourself in the chapel seeking a moment of quiet reflection. The air is cool and still, the faint scent of beeswax candles mingling with the earthy aroma of stone. The chapel is a place of solace, its walls adorned with frescoes depicting scenes from Scripture. You kneel before the altar, your hands clasped in prayer, seeking guidance and strength for the challenges ahead. Religion plays a central role in your life as a knight, shaping your values and informing your actions. The code of chivalry is deeply intertwined with faith, emphasizing virtues such as honor, loyalty, and compassion. Yet, as you pray, you're aware of the contradictions and complexities of your world. The same faith that calls for peace also justifies war. The same code that demands mercy can also require justice even when it's harsh. Historians still debate how deeply individual knights internalize these ideals. Were they devout believers, or did they simply use the trappings of religion to legitimize their power? For you, the answer lies somewhere in between. Faith is both a source of comfort and a guide, but it doesn't erase the moral dilemmas you face. As the day fades into evening, you return to your quarters, weary but fulfilled. The life of a knight is a constant balancing act, requiring you to navigate the demands of duty, the expectations of society, and your own sense of right and wrong. It's not an easy path, but it's one you've chosen and one you continue to walk with purpose and resolve. The fire in your chamber crackles softly, its warmth, a welcome reprieve from the chill of the night. You sit by the hearth, your thoughts drifting once again to the day's events. The faces of the villagers, the eager determination of the squires, the solemn quiet of the chapel, they all weave together into the tapestry of your life as a knight. As the fire dies down, you prepare for bed, the weight of your armor replaced by the comforting embrace of your blankets. Closing your eyes, you let the stillness of the night envelop you, your mind already anticipating the challenges of tomorrow. The journey of knighthood is far from over, but for now you allow yourself this moment of rest, the quiet promise of a new day waiting just beyond the horizon. You wake to the faint crowing of roosters, the early morning mist still lingering over the castle grounds. The scent of damp earth and wood smoke drifts through the open window, mixing with the faint metallic tang of your armor left drying on a nearby rack. Today, duty calls you beyond the stone walls, an inspection of the fief's far-flung holdings where your lord's authority stretches thin, and the peace you protect feels precariously fragile. Mounting your horse, you feel the familiar heft of your sword at your side, and the gentle thud of leather reigns in your gloved hands. The clinking of your chainmail blends with the rhythmic pounding of hooves as you lead a small retinue out through the gate. The countryside sprawls before you in rolling hills, dotted with patches of forest fields of ripening grain and clusters of humble cottages. As you ride, your thoughts wander to the farmers and villagers whose lives depend on this land and on your protection. The medieval countryside is a mosaic of interdependence and tension, where survival often hangs by a thread. Banditry is a constant threat, and disputes over grazing rights or water sources can flare into violence. It's your job to keep order, to be both sword and shield for those who cannot defend themselves. Your first stop is a small village nestled beside a stream, where you dismount and enter the modest manor house of the local steward. The steward is an older man with weathered hands and a wary gaze. He briefs you on recent troubles: theft of livestock, a quarrel between two families, and rumors of a neighboring baron's men crossing borders without permission. You inspect the village, noting the worn wooden fences, the rough-hewn cottages, and the tired faces of the peasants. You chat briefly with a woman carrying a basket of eggs, whose smile flickers with hope as you promise to address their concerns. The daily struggles of these people are worlds away from the tournaments and feast, but just as important. One curious detail catches your eye: a stray dog, limping but alert, shadowing a group of children playing in the dirt. It's said that dogs in medieval villages often doubled as watchdogs and companions, and sometimes even as symbols of loyalty and protection. You chuckle softly to yourself, imagining the dog as an unofficial member of the village militia. Before leaving, you make your way to the village church, a humble stone building with a wooden door swollen from the damp. Inside, the scent of incense and candle wax fills the air, and the flicker of light casts long shadows on the ancient walls. The priest greets you warmly, and you exchange quiet words about the spiritual needs of the community and the hardships they endure. Historians still debate whether medieval knights were seen by common folk primarily as noble protectors or as distant enforcers of feudal authority. From where you stand now amid these humble people, it's clear the truth lies somewhere in the middle. You are both guardian and symbol, a figure of hope, but also of power. The afternoon leads you onward to a nearby fortification perched atop a craggy hill. It's a watchtower tasked with guarding the borderlands, manned by a handful of soldiers whose eyes are sharp and restless. The landscape here is harsher, the wind colder, and the threat more immediate. You inspect the defenses, discuss patrol routes, and remind the men of their duty to remain vigilant. As the sun begins to dip toward the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and violet, you make your way back toward the castle. Your muscles ache from the day's ride, but your mind is alive with the myriad duties that fill a knight's life beyond battles and banquets. It's the quiet, constant work of maintaining order and justice. That night, as you settle once more in your chamber, you reflect on the delicate balance of power, protection, and responsibility. The life of a knight is never easy, and the path is strewn with difficult choices. Yet in these moments of quiet, you find a strange kind of peace. Outside the castle stands silent under a blanket of stars, a bastion of strength and history. You close your eyes, your thoughts mingling with the gentle night sounds, the rustle of leaves, the distant bark of a hound, the soft breathing of your own steady pulse. Tomorrow will bring more challenges, but for now, you rest. The dawn arrives quietly, its pale light filtering through the narrow slit windows of your chamber. You awaken to the cool chill of the stone walls, the familiar scent of dust and iron mingling in the air. Today, the routine of training calls you back to the courtyard, where the clang of sword against shield, the grunt of exertion, and the sharp commands of your instructors create a steady rhythm, a medieval soundtrack to the art of war. Stepping out, you feel the weight of your armor settle against your skin, a constant reminder of both protection and limitation. Armor is your second skin, a bulky yet vital extension of your body, designed to turn aside arrows and blades. It is uncomfortable, restricting your movement, and heating your blood beneath layers of metal yet essential for survival. The balance between mobility and defense is a puzzle every knight must solve daily. You join the ranks of other knights and squires, their faces set in expressions ranging from grim determination to quiet exhaustion. Today's training focuses on mounted combat, a skill as complex as it is crucial. You climb onto your steed, a powerful animal, trained to respond to subtle cues. The connection between horse and rider is almost symbiotic, and mastering it takes years of patience and practice. The instructor calls out commands as you and your comrades practice jousting maneuvers and sword strikes, the sound of weapons, meeting shields echoing against the stone walls. The tournament is more than spectacle. It is the proving ground where knights test their skill and courage. Yet beneath the clamor lies a deeper purpose, preparing for the chaos and unpredictability of real battle. After hours of relentless practice, your muscles ache and sweat beads on your brow. You take a moment to drink from your water skin, the cool liquid a welcome relief. Nearby, a squire carefully tends to his lord's armor, oiling and inspecting every rivet and hinge. The care of equipment is an essential, often overlooked aspect of knighthood. A neglected armor could mean the difference between life and death. You notice a peculiar sight, a small wooden doll, carved in the likeness of a knight perched on a nearby bench. Such figurines were sometimes given as charms or tokens believed to bring luck or protection. Superstitions like these permeate the medieval world, mixing with faith and folklore to create a complex web of belief that every knight navigates. Later, you retreat to the library, a surprisingly quiet refuge within the castle's bustling walls. Here, scrolls and manuscripts line the shelves, chronicling histories, laws, and tales of chivalry. Literacy among knights varied widely. Some were educated, others relied on scribes. Historians still argue whether the ideal of the learned knight was widespread or largely aspirational, but the written word undeniably shaped the culture you inhabit. As evening falls, you find yourself in the great hall where a modest feast awaits. The aroma of roasted meats, fresh bread, and spiced wine fills the air. You sit among your fellow knights, sharing stories and laughter. The bonds forged here are as crucial as any sword. Comradeship strengthens the spirit for the trials ahead. You reflect on the paradox of knighthood, a life caught between brutal combat and refined ceremony, between duty and desire, between the harsh realities of war and the lofty ideals of honor. It's a life-demanding resilient skill and a steady heart. As night deepens, the castle grows silent once more. You lay down your head, the distant hoot of an owl, a lullaby for the weary. Tomorrow, the cycle begins anew, another day in the complex, challenging world of a medieval knight. The night deepens around you, settling softly like a thick velvet cloak, muffling the sounds of the castle and the world beyond its walls. In this quiet hour, you find a moment to reflect not just on the armor you wear or the sword you wield, but on the life that has brought you here, a life woven from both myth and hardship. Your body aches from the day's training, muscles stretched and strained in ways that remind you of the limits of your flesh beneath the steel. Yet beneath the weariness is a pulse of pride, a quiet satisfaction that this discipline, this endless striving, shapes you into something more than a mere man. You are part of an ancient tradition, a link in a chain stretching back through centuries of battles, tournaments, and solemn vows. Your thoughts drift to the ceremonies, the oaths sworn on cold stone, the prayers whispered in candlelit chapels, the communal feasts where tales of valor and folly intertwine. These rituals are as vital as any sword strike, for they bind you to a code that seeks to temper violence with honor, power with mercy. But you also remember the shadows that lurk beneath the surface, the fears, the injuries hidden beneath polished armor, the lonely nights far from home, the burden of expectations too heavy to bear easily. Historians still argue whether the idealized chivalric knight ever truly existed, or if it was mostly a story told to inspire and control. Still, the stories themselves offer comfort and purpose, a kind of light in the medieval gloom. Outside your window, the stars scatter across the dark sky like scattered sparks of hope. They remind you that even in this brutal, unpredictable world, there is beauty and wonder to be found in the loyalty of comrades, in the thrill of the hunt, in the quiet moments stolen between battles. As you close your eyes, you feel the slow, steady rhythm of your breath, the steady beat of a heart that has faced both danger and dreams. The weight of armor feels lighter now, replaced by the gentle embrace of night's calm. So here you rest in the stillness, wrapped in the legacy of nights long past and those yet to come. Tuck yourself in, slow your breathing, and let the past keep you company tonight. I'll be here with another story for you tomorrow night.